Hey you guys and gals, F it all here. We are going to have a quick pseudo story time sort of thing. Not my normal content. I know I'm taking another departure from my normal gaming content. I hope that's okay with you guys, but you all seem to enjoy the last sort of me just sitting and talking to you video, so I thought we'd do another one because I had the most interesting experience with my delightful neighbor today. Delightful? This guy right here who lives behind me. And so in England, for those of you in the States who are used to autonomous housing, in England, pretty much everybody lives in what we would call a townhome or a row home. Here they call them terraced houses. They're a bunch of houses stacked up like books and smushed together, so you share a wall on either side unless you're on the house on the end, then you only share one wall. But it's very normal over here. Just about everybody who lives in a house like this or a duplex. In the States it's more for people who live in urban areas, but here everybody lives in them. I mean, they're all over the place. Anyway, so we live in this terraced house, like a townhome sort of thing. And so we have neighbors on this side and we have neighbors on that side. The guy over there is a little old man who is deaf as a doornail and listens to his TV blare loud all night because he falls asleep. But we're used to it now, but it was really something to get used to when we first moved in. Anyway, so in October, we got a puppy. His name is Eddie. He is a Jack Russell Poodle mix of some type. There could be something else in there. We're not really sure. Anyway, he's really cute and he's very sweet. And when we got him, it was like a Thursday, and so we just popped a note through the neighbor's mail slot, because they have mail slots on the doors here, and said, you know, hey, we just got a puppy. We're going to need to crate train him so that he can be safe at night, so he's not chewing on cords and getting into the chemicals under the sink and that sort of thing. You know, he's going to cry for about 2 nights, but after that he should be fine. Please be patient. So they came back and said, you know, hey, she's starting a new job on Monday. We really can't have the dog crying all night. She's got to have her sleep for this new job. And I'm like, okay, I understand. We will try to do it during the day. If you have ever tried to crate train a dog during the day while you are actually in the house, up, moving around, it's pretty much impossible. Really, the best way to do it is to just put them in the box with toys and chewies and blankets and treats and just let them cry it out. And then you get up in 4 hours when they're quiet only, you take them out, you bring them back, you put them in the box, tell them they're a good boy, give them a treat, and then go back to bed. And no matter how much they cry, you just let them cry. You don't go get them, you don't talk to them, you don't interact with them, you just go to sleep or lay there and listen to them scream. And it only takes like 2 nights. I've never had it take more than 2 nights with the dog. Anyway, but they're like, yeah, you can't do that. So we didn't. And now he's 7 months old and still not crate trained. Thanks, neighbors. Anyway, so we live in a really small town. I don't know if you guys know. I'm an American, obviously, by my accent, but I live in England, and the towns here are really tiny. Everything in town is a 5-minute walk. Like, we are really in the middle of town. I can get to everything in 5 minutes. You know, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, everything, 5 minutes. So I'm never really gone for very long at a time. So when I would go out and run an errand, if I couldn't take him with me, like some shops will let you take the dog, some won't. If I was going somewhere where I couldn't take the dog, he had to go in his box because he's a puppy and they chew. And you can't have him chewing on cords, especially not with 240 volts going through him here. I mean, he would die. So we put him in the box. And I'm never, mind you, I am never gone for more than an hour at a time. Never. And so apparently every time, according to the neighbor anyway, every time I was going, Eddie was like screaming his head off because he's not crate trained. And so one weekend, I think it was our anniversary, because it was mid-October, so it must have been our anniversary. Mort and I went out to lunch. We went out, we walked around town, we ran a couple errands, we went to lunch. We were gone for about an hour and a half, a little less, but about an hour and a half. And when we got home, the neighbor is standing in front of our front door, like standing there, glaring at the door, like actually physically pulling at his hair and shouting. I've never seen anything like it. It was absolutely surreal. And I mean, he's waving his arms around and hooting and hollering and screaming and yelling. Like the other neighbors are like looking out their windows like, well, what is going on over there? And so we're like walking up, we're like, there's this maniac out in front. Who is that? We didn't know who it was. Because he looked so crazy. Like, surely it's not this mild, gentle, soft-spoken man who lives next door to us. Kind of looks like him, but surely it's not. So he doesn't see us coming up the street, or he didn't recognize us, or whatever. So he goes out of our little garden into his garden and into his house, and we're like, well, that was weird. So, you know, as we're walking up, we knock on his door. We're like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? You know, is the house on fire? And he's like, your dog, you know, and he's like screaming and cussing and waving his arms. I mean, he screamed at us, like, no kidding, screamed so loud his voice cracked. He screamed at us for 20 minutes. Like, I don't know if you've ever been shouted at by an adult, like another, we're not talking like teenage angst sort of over the top blows. We're talking like an actual grown man just losing his shit on the front porch. It was surreal. Never seen anything like it. And so, oh, excuse you, thank you. And so we're like, okay, you know, well, I'm sorry that happened. Here's our phone numbers if we wind up in that situation again. And he's just, and there's nothing that we could say or do that would make it better for him. Absolutely nothing. You know, we didn't make any excuses or anything like that. We're just like, you know, I'm sorry, we didn't know. As it turns out, the kids that lived across the back alley from us had been running up and down the alley beating on the door because they heard him barking, and then they would bang on the door to make him bark some more, which was driving the neighbor crazy, and then the neighbor would beat on the wall or beat on the door, and that was making him bark even more. So he was actually, you know, going for a long time. I don't believe he was going for an hour and a half, but he was going for a good long time. And he's pretty loud. Anyway, so this is like mid-October that this happened. And Mort and I pretty much just came to the conclusion, like, okay, we can't leave him. We can't leave him. Like, if we have to run errands, he has to go with us, or, you know, I can't run errands during the week. We're just gonna have to wait until the weekend when you're home, and then you can stay with him and I can go run errands. So we've been doing this for 5 months, give or take, like 4.5. 4.5 months I have not left this house during the week. You know, if I need milk, I can't go get milk. If I need bread, I can't go get bread. I can't go to the bank. I can't go to the post office. I can't leave the house. Because, you know, we're worried that this nutball next door is gonna show up on the front porch and have a temper tantrum again, right? And my husband is sweet and kind and patient and soft-spoken, and I am not. My instant reaction to someone being aggressive with me is to be extremely aggressive back. It's just in my nature. Fortunately, my husband balances me out. Fortunately, he was there, but neither one of us wanted to see what would happen if he wasn't one time. So we just decided that the best solution is me not to go anywhere. Well, fast forward 4.5 months. I'm like stir crazy from being in the house, pretty much trapped in my own home for 4.5 months because this nutball next door can't keep his, you know, self in control. And I gotta take the cat to the vet. Like, it's 6 blocks away. It's right there. I can see the vet's office if I look out the second story window. Like, I can see the vet's office from my house. 6 blocks away. And so I make this appointment, and I gotta take the cat to the vet. Well, the cat has to go on a carrier. Cat doesn't walk on a leash, and I cannot. He's heavy. I can't carry the cat and walk the dog at the same time. I'm not strong enough. So the dog has to go in his box. And there's nothing we can do about it. The dog's gotta go in his box. So during his tirade, I did get him, you know, I was like, okay, well, you know, I'm sorry he made noise. When is an okay time to, like, go out of the house for a short period? Like, if I have to run an errand or something, he goes between 9 and 5, you know, normal business hours. Well, it was 1:30 on a Saturday, mind you, and it obviously wasn't okay. So I made the appointment for the cat at 9 o'clock in the morning. I walked out the door at 5 till, and I walked back in at 9:32. I was gone for 37 minutes. 37 minutes to have the cat get an exam. It's the first time I have left my house. Oops, sorry, lights just went out. Anyway, so I walked out the door at 5 till 9. I walked back in at 9:32. I was gone for 37 minutes. I timed myself because I knew it was going to be a problem. And so yeah, I come back, and my husband's called and left a message, and he's like, hey, are you home yet? And so I called him back. I'm like, yeah, I'm home. Well, let me guess. The neighbor called you. Yeah. I said, great. I'm going to go have a chat with him. Like, really? I can't leave the house for 37 minutes? Oh, by the way, when I got home, I stopped and like put my ear to the door to make sure he wasn't making any noise, just to double check, because I knew it was going to be a problem. No noise, no barking, no whining, no howling, no nothing. So I open the front door, walk in, close the front door, open the foyer door, because they have double doors here to keep the cold out. Oh, Eddie, calm down. Eddie didn't make a sound until I opened the second door. The second door, not the first door, the second door. He didn't make a peep. Yeah, so I go and I knock on the door, and I'm like, I was really upset, you know, because my husband's like, we got to do something about this dog. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? You know, I've been stuck in the house for 4.5 months. I have to be able to go and run an errand now and then. Like, I have to be able to leave the house. This is ridiculous. You know, it's ridiculous. Like, I get that the dog barks and that it's annoying, but, you know, we've complied with everything he's asked us to do. That we don't, like, leave the dog making a bunch of noise all the time. We are quiet people. We mind our own business. We keep to ourselves. Like, seriously, what does he want me to do? Anyway, so I go and knock on the door. I'm, like, crying because I'm angry, and girls do that. At least some of us do. I cry when I get mad. If I get, like, really good and mad and I can't vent that frustration, I cry. Really embarrassing. Anyway, so I knock on his door. I'm like, I have like tears streaming down my face. I'm like, you know, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't just not go anywhere. I was only gone for 37 minutes, and I'm like being calm and quiet and polite. I am crying. And he's like, well, what would you have liked me to do different? I'm like, you know, give me a few minutes maybe to get back home. He's like, well, for all I know, you could have been gone for hours. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess that I could have, but based on what precedent? Like, I have never left him barking for hours. Like, that's never happened. What are you basing that on? You know? He's like, well, all I did was call in and ask a perfectly polite question. I'm like, first of all, you weren't polite when you called in, because my husband noted that you were, you know, not particularly polite. And if he commented on it, you must have really not been polite. Because more like, it's the thickest skinned person you would not even believe. And, hi, Eddie. I know. Sorry, he knows I'm agitated. Anyway, so by the time this conversation is done, and I'm like, look, I just need you to give me a few minutes. Like, I'm only stepping out. Like, everything in town is in 5 minutes. Like, I'm not going to be gone for more, 30 minutes, maybe on the outside, an hour at tops. Like, he's like, well, he woke me up. I'm like, dude, it's in the window. You gave me a time window. It's in the window. Like, I've done everything you've asked me to do. I need for you to be a little reasonable. And he goes, well, it's not okay for you to just leave your dog screaming for hours. And I'm like, don't you think you're exaggerating a little bit? Like, I have never left him. The longest we ever left him was on our anniversary when we were gone for under an hour and a half. Never left him for hours. Never. And I'm certainly not screaming. I'm like, don't you think you're exaggerating a little bit? He goes, oh, you think I'm exaggerating? I'm like, is it not reasonable that maybe he woke you up and maybe you were a little distressed, maybe you were a little angry or agitated, and maybe it seemed like more than it actually was? And he goes, I can't believe you're saying I'm exaggerating. I'm like, is it not possible? And he goes, go fuck yourself. I'm closing the door in your face, and shut the door. Okay, because that's an excellent way to interact with your neighbors. Like, that's a perfectly reasonable response to somebody saying, hey, every now and then I'm gonna need 30 minutes to go and get some milk. Anyway, so that was my neighbor adventure this morning. I just thought that you guys would get a little hoot out of that. I certainly did, if that's what you want to call it. And yeah, okay. I'm gonna get back to editing Black Desert videos. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Have an excellent day. Enjoy your game, and I will see you in tomorrow's stream. Don't forget that we are starting the charity drive tomorrow for Gamers Outreach. We're trying to build a go-kart for Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City. Yeah. Okay, I'll see you guys in the morning. Bye.